Before we dive in today, it's important to note that this episode will discuss mental abuse that may be triggering to some viewers or listeners. The mental health support line is 988, and I have tons of other episodes for you if this one isn't the one for you. Hey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to get to hang out with you today and talk about the wild topic of dating a narcissist. But this information could also apply to any relationship you have with someone like this, even if it's not a romantic one. Now, before we dive in, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping notes that you'll want to know, and they are that. One, I've been playing around a lot with the length of this show. And it started originally long form for the podcast, and after observing what you seem to enjoy most, since this show is for you, I'm going to try out some slightly shorter videos for you. So let me know what you think in the comments and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And two, if you want even more bite-sized content daily, you can find me on the gram at JulieBethany. Okay, so I debated doing this topic, honestly, because no one wants to learn that their ex has put out a video about the impacts of dating a narcissist. But it had such a negative impact on my life that I figured this is very necessary information to put into the world to help others. And because of that, I wanted to start by reminding us all that we all have our stuff, and even people who act like narcissists are that way because they went through some form of trauma growing up where they likely didn't get their needs met and are trying to do it in an, let's say, interesting way as an adult because they never learned how. We can absolutely have empathy, but we also need to protect ourselves. We want to wisely ride that line. But I am telling my story, and without too many personal details, a couple years after it happened, because I was able to get out of that situation because I had a best friend who had shared what happened when she was dating a narcissist before. And that really helped me recognize it as the situation progressed from bad to worse. So I created today's episode because I want you to be able to recognize this type of abuse and not have your self-esteem ripped apart by it. And so you can recognize and avoid these people in your life and recover if you had to deal with someone like this in your life. So today, this is what we're going to cover. Number one, we'll cover what a narcissist is. Number two, how to know if you're dealing with one. Number three, the impact a narcissist can have on your self-esteem. And four, how to safely and wisely heal from relations with a narcissist. Okay, let's start with what a narcissist is. For those of you who have been living under a rock, just kidding, but that's how a narcissist would talk to you. A narcissist is someone who is entirely absorbed with themselves to an unhealthy degree. It is a mental health disorder, and disclaimer, I am not a psychologist, but this type of person has an inflated level of self-importance, and sorry to pop their bubble, but they place a very high value on the admiration of others and seek it out constantly, usually at others' expense. Such a fun person to be around from personal experience. Okay. So how do you know if you have one in your life? Now, narcissists have pretty common tendencies they share in how they behave and interact with others. If they are doing any of the following to you or to another person and you observe it, they are likely a narcissist. Number one, they make jokes at your expense or say mean things to you under the guise that they're just being honest or real. But if they're actually insulting you under the guise that it's just a joke, lighten up, that's not actually funny or okay. For example, I was consistently asked where my ass was because I supposedly didn't have one. It's funny right now talking about it on the show, but when you're being told that in real time, it's not funny, it's degrading, and it's abusive. Now let's draw from the word of the year recently for number two. They try to gaslight you. Now, gaslighting is when someone tries to make you feel like your perception of reality isn't true. They will tell you they didn't say or do something they actually did, and this is a form of psychological manipulation. Big word, really important. Everything you say will be spun around by this person, which leads me to number three. They never take the blame for anything conveniently. They do and try to turn themselves into the victim instead. For example, when I shared my frustration that I was being cheated on via the extremely inappropriate comments they left on other people's Instagram posts, so annoying, I was told I was being too sensitive and was told I was monitoring them too closely. I was only doing that when I was provoked, right? Friends, if what they had written was public on people's posts, I don't even want to know what was in their DMs and I didn't ask. Yikes. And for bonus, if you're dating one, number 4, they will likely begin the relationship by love bombing you, aka giving you too much affection and putting too much weight on the relationship and you too early on to only pull away drastically later, as in once they have you hooked and realize that they can leech off you. I spent a lot of money on my leech, unfortunately, and they sucked me dry for a very short amount of time, but they are manipulative and they prey intentionally on people who are compassionate toward others. Now, let's talk about what this does to your self-esteem over time. This person overall will walk all over you and use you until you're exhausted and a shell of your former self, from insults spun as jokes, from you being told that what you're experiencing is not real, and from them attempting to turn themselves into a victim when in reality, you are their victim. They are the ultimate victim blamers and shamers, and that will slowly chip away at your sense of self, your sense of reality, and your self-esteem. No bueno. So how do we get away from this type of person and heal from having to deal with them? Unfortunately, they cause self-esteem issues for others because they actually have extremely low self-esteem themselves, which is why they're constantly seeking admiration and refuse to admit wrong. My ex was a model, and they want to control others. It's because in actuality, they feel out of control themselves, which is not an excuse in the least, but the key to getting away from this person and to healing from the negative impact they have in your life is to reduce their importance, advisably to nothing, in your life. Telling them no works well, and so does letting them know, of course, once they've bulldozed your boundaries, that you won't be speaking with them anymore. And proceeding to block them also works pretty well if they're getting aggressive with you. I interrupt myself for this very important announcement. You're so welcome. I am beyond excited to share with you that I have a free mini course you can take right now, but also maybe wait until after you finish this episode, but to each their own. I'm not going to stop you from doing you. But the course is about helping you get unstuck and re-inspired if you feel like you're in a place, like a lot of us do often, honestly, where you just don't know what you want next for your life, or if you do, how to get it. The mini course includes 10 quick minutes of me sharing strategies to help you get unstuck and re-inspired, and comes with a complimentary one-page journal entry you can download for you to work through what you want for your life and how to create the momentum to get what you want next for yourself in the easiest and fastest way possible. And you'll take away actionable items you can apply right away. And as a bonus, after the initial course, if you still left wanting more, I'll tell you about my full-length version of that course that will walk you through creating a goal and a plan to achieve it in order to get you closer to the life of your dreams you want to be living, and the exact steps to do that over the next 3 months. I will hold your lovely hands in mine and guide you toward figuring out what you want and then how to get it efficiently if you want to take it a step further. I shall run the marathon with you after the sprint so that in 3 months you will have achieved something you really want in your life. All good things take time, so for the sake of the best version of yourself and the life you could be living 3 months from now, which will fly by, you don't need to put off your dreams any longer. You deserve to live the life of your dreams as soon as possible, because why not? So let's start today. I'm ready. Are you? To check it out and get the free mini course so you can apply the tools to improve your life right away, and or to learn more about the full-length course about going from stuck to re-inspired and really crushing a massive goal in only 3 months' time with me, the links are included with this episode. I can't wait to see what you create for your life with it. And now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now, we can also gray rock them and give them boring answers, and that works well too. Now, again, we can still have empathy for these people, but we need to protect ourselves. You can put yourself in someone else's shoes, but you're ultimately living in your own. And that's important too. I have since healed from my time dating a narcissist, but I honestly did have a very warped perception of myself for a while after I dated them. It was only a 3-month-long whirlwind relationship, thank God, but I genuinely developed some body dysmorphia from it, which means that I did not look in the mirror and see myself for who I really was. I had been nitpicked to the extreme and thought there were so many things that were wrong with me and my body that were just false. And it took me a while to remember that and regain my personal power because they had tried to have power and be so controlling over me. And if you need even more things to look for or affirm you if you're not entirely sure if you're in this situation yourself, here are some other things they did, and it's not even close to the complete list. They had tried to separate me from my friends, which I wasn't having any of, and that made them more upset and verbally abusive toward me. They also tried to make medical decisions for me. They were not a doctor, and tell me I was and wasn't allowed to put this or that into my body. They tried to tell me what to think and believe, and that I was wrong all the time. They made me go above and beyond for them and then treated me poorly once I did. The bar kept moving, and what I did was never good enough. And they said really awful things to me and called me really terrible things. And ultimately, they tried to break me down so they had complete power over my life and get me away from others who could spot what was happening. And it's hard to escape this type of person because they will threaten you in whatever way they see fit, and once they've invaded your whole life. But it's really important to lean on your friends and those who are genuinely there for you in order to remember who you are, all the incredible things about you, and take back your power and life into your own hands and away from someone else's control, even if you love them. They are toxic in your life. And if you do have to deal with one that you have no choice to be around, like let's say a narcissistic coworker, something like that, you can set really firm boundaries with them and give them a short of answers to their prying as is appropriate in order to protect yourself and your peace, that gray rocking again. And you are in charge of your own life, and no one else should be calling all the shots in your life but you. Wow, that got really depressing really fast, but the takeaway is that true peace comes from removing toxicity in your life and living it how you see fit, according to your dreams and with the people you care about who are loving and supportive toward you and are not trying to control you. Okay, real depressing episode, but I hope that sharing my story, and it is just the surface, and even what I shared is, truly just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more, but I hope it will help you spot this type of person in your life and feel brave enough to reach out to the people who love you well and regain that love for yourself that you deserve to have, and that type of person will try and take away from you. You are so worthy of love and being loved and getting to shine as your authentic self. So feel free to share this episode with a friend if you feel someone in your life needs your support and needs to hear these words of encouragement that they are not alone and that other people go through this. There's no shame in that. I am also not a licensed therapist, but there are licensed therapists out there that can really help you get out of and heal from this situation and who have helped others do that too. You are not alone. You are amazing. Your dreams and goals that are unique to you and are meant for you. And you have every right to pursue all that is in your heart with support from really loving people around you. So come hang out with me on the gram if you want in the meantime, and I'll see you next time. Meow. Bye, everyone.